Yeah, we're back.
Yep. Back and somewhat alive, somewhat awake.
Man, I got home Saturday night and I was like, I know I'm gonna kick myself if I don't unpack everything because I had all that stuff, like the
Yeah.
blankets, the towels, the everything from crewing at Cocodona, the coolers, I was like, I need to take care of all this stuff tonight because I am sure as hell not going to want to do it in the morning. But got all that stuff taken care of, and yeah, Cocodona. Wow,
Dude, did you end up sleeping in at all Saturday morning, or Sunday morning rather? Sunday mornings you kind of take a little bit extra sleep, or was you kind of up and at 'em normal like you normally are?
No, I honestly went to bed like at 10:30 Saturday night, and I woke up at like 7:30 Sunday morning, and then I went back to sleep for like another 2 hours. So
Yeah.
what about you? I mean, you had to work today, and you got home Sunday night. So
Yeah, we got home Sunday at our flight landed at 3:30. I was back home by 4:30 ish. Basically got everything out of my bag, got everything out, kind of like dirty clothes went in the dirty clothes room. Kind of like put stuff where it needs to be ultimately put away too, but like got it in the right area. And then was basically like, all right, well, and then turned around, went out to Mother's Day dinner.
yeah,
And
nice.
then, but I will say, by the time I got home, here's the good thing about doing that. By the time I got home, I was wiped out.
Yeah.
So when I laid down to go to bed last night, it was instant. Lights are off. We are dead in the world. 6:00 this morning hit, and it was like up and at 'em. Dude, it is so much weirder because I actually thought about this morning waking up. 6 a.m. out there in Arizona is infinitely brighter than 6 a.m. in Ohio. The sun is much higher in the sky out west at 6 a.m. than it is on the East Coast.
Yeah, it's weird how it works out like that. I think it's because they're at the beginning of the Pacific time zone or something like that.
Yeah, so it's like so sunrise, like let's say sunrise is like 6 a.m. here. Sunrise there would be like 5:45 their time. Like it is really interesting how much earlier the sun rises is a full go out there than it is here. But anyways,
and I think it gets dark a little earlier out there too.
I think so too. Yeah, it's kind of weird. I think you're right because like it didn't get dark here for quite a while. So, but we are up and at it. We're ready to go now. On that note,
we're gonna get into all that. Like we're gonna get into our whole Cocodona experience and Pete, our buddy Pete's a race that we crewed and paced for Pete, and he really, really exceeded all expectations, kicked ass.
Totally kicked ass.
What a week it was. We will talk about our experience, and we got some other race results as well. We got some big time FKTs to talk about. Also some world records that were set. We were off last week, so stuff happened last week too.
Yeah.
And our 3Ts, we're gonna talk about getting wet since Cocodona.
Cocodona.
We talked about dealing with the heat in our last one pre-Cocodona. We didn't know what was going to happen at Cocodona. What actually happened at Cocodona was quite the opposite. So we're going to talk about dealing with the rain,
which brings up a great potential next week. 3Ts preparing for everything.
That's right.
Yeah, like my gosh. So
I like that. I need to take a note. But all right. So I guess let's first just talk about the elites, the race, the race in the front, and then we can move into our actual experience with Cocodona. And this was a really interesting year for the race. That we'll talk about the weather in a minute, but it was unprecedented weather. They had They had thunderstorms on Tuesday evening. There was rain during the day on Tuesday, on and off. Monday was overcast, even some wintry mix at times. People were coming into Whiskey Row, or not Whiskey Row, but the first big aid station at mile 30.
Yeah. Black Canyon. No. Daggone it. King.
Crown King.
Yeah.
Well, they were Crown King, like hypothermic. I think Mika 2's actually was shivering pretty bad, and she ended up dropping out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the elites race, Harry S. Geraldus Sabertus, last year's winner, he went out to a screaming start.
It was so ridiculous because and what's kind of funny is, and we'll talk about this a little bit here in a little bit, but like you're saying, Geraldus and Michael McKnight were like I mean, it looked like they were fucking sprinting up the mountain.
I know.
It was ridiculous. And then, I mean, even on the live feed, they were talking about it. Like, what are these two doing? Like, what are they doing? Like, and the one person even made a comment, well, you know, these folks know what they're doing. They're not going to run at a rate that's going to burn themselves out.
Well,
do they? Aren't they? You know what I mean? So, and I still distinctly remember sitting in the house up in Prescott watching the live feed, and you know what? Actually, we were driving back. We were driving back from the starting line back to Prescott, and the guy made the comment about McKnight specifically about, well, last year, you know, he kind of he sat back a little bit. He's a little too patient. He's not going to do that this year. He's up really pushing a pace with Geraldus. And you're just like, dude, these two, I mean, I don't know, man. They were out. I mean, they were out on probably a sub 50-hour course pace at first.
Yeah, and I think the cooler temperatures probably had something to do with that. They were probably like, you know what, we're going to take advantage of this cooler weather. Yeah. We're going to hammer this. So just for everybody that is not aware, the first 37 miles of Cocodona is extremely technical. It's a lot of uphill. It's, I think, between 10 and 11,000 feet of climbing, if I'm not mistaken, in that first 37 miles. And so it's like a monstrous section, and it can make or break people, especially when it's hot. But you know, in any race, like I'm sure, you know, I didn't make it to the aid station there at Crown King, but I'm sure I was watching on the live stream, and you could tell people were pretty worked coming in there. That's a hell of a section. So, and another thing, so Geraldus Sabertus, you know, just crushing the field. Courtney also took off. She was also just blazing at the beginning. Courtney Walter. I watched one of the aid stations. It's like maybe two aid stations after Crown King. I'm watching on the live stream. Harry came in and he did like I don't know, it was like maybe a 9 or 10 minute turnaround. He sat down, he ate, he took off, and it wasn't much longer. A couple minutes later, Courtney came into that aid station, and she literally did like a 3-minute turnaround.
Like it looked like, and it's kind of interesting because like one of the things they talked about on the live feed a couple times is the difference between, like, you know, like they actually talk about how, you know, some of these folks are starting to treat the 200 milers like the 100 milers, and are doing these quick turn and burns. And you know, and I remember thinking, like, and what's funny is, like, I remember us talking the complete opposite side of that. Like, hey, listen, these aren't, and like, admittedly, we're not ultras, we're not elites, right? But on us, we're like, listen, these are not 100 milers. We can take our time. We do not need to be turning and burning. And Court is just out there like, like, oh, just throw me some new water bottles. I'm in now. And I was like, God bless. But she was flying.
Yep. Flying. And at some point, I think, I don't remember what mileage it was, Courtney passed Harry, and she was in first place overall, and the internet lost its mind.
Yeah, dude.
We lost our minds. We were like,
Dude.
oh my God, this is unprecedented. Courtney, she's gonna win this thing overall. She was looking really strong. I'm watching her go into like the mile 90 some aid station. It was a flat section, but she was just running like she just started the race. I mean, so fresh. And I'm not sure what happened. The best description we got was from Courtney herself that said that I don't know, her quote was that her body, she had a total body shutdown.
Total body shutdown, yeah.
So something happened there, and she ended up dropping at mile 108. And at some point around this, Daniel Green, the youngster out of West Virginia, he's 28 years old, doesn't have much of a history with ultras. I only saw one race result on his ultra sign up, and that was like a 24-hour race or something. So yeah, he's kind of a newcomer on the scene, and he was just running a steady race, and he ended up in first place overall. And he literally just put on a clinic for the rest of Cocodona. He ran the most steady race, and he ended up winning in a, let's see, what was Dan's time? 58:47, which is a new Cocodona course record. The previous record was set by Joe McConaughey, String Bean, back in 2022, which is 59 hours and 28 minutes. And keep in mind, this is a little bit of a different course this year. It's 256 miles or 256 and a half miles.
Yeah.
And that climb, or at the end, towards the end, when they come down off of Mount Eldon, they go down the way they used to come up, the harder.
They go down a much harder route. So yeah.
There's definitely some challenges.
And talking to multiple people, obviously talking to Pete, but also talking to other runners, they said that downhill was an absolute MFer. Yep. They said it was absolutely horrible. Because like everyone talks about how bad the descent, how steep the descent, and how rocky the descent is. Also on there's two other ones that they talk a lot about. It's coming off from Mingus, but I didn't know this until I picked him up in Jerome. The descent out of Jerome is supposed to be pretty gnarly, and I'm like, oh shit. Well, I guess I better grab my trekking poles then. And then Pete and I got on it. We're like, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not bad at all. I mean, there's a couple, but they said that they said that none of the three, like by far, Eldon was the hardest by far.
Yeah.
As the descents go, every person I talked to said that they slipped and fell straight back multiple times just because it's so steep. The rocks kick out from underneath you. Now the nice thing is it's like boop, you just kind of tip right back on your butt, so you're not falling far. But like they said, it was so. Yes, you had the longer distance. Yes, you had a much harder descent, which at 250 some odd miles in, that matters. You know what I mean? And then the other thing was the course sounds like it was a little bit harder with that. Was it? The
hangover trail or something?
Hangover trail, which like I've still tried to find it a couple of times on some video. I've seen some video of it. I don't feel like it's maybe as bad, but it doesn't look like it's easy either. And then, by the way, the other thing that made this year hard, and it absolutely kicked our boys Pete's ass, is there's 2 points late in a race that can't have your pacer with you. You know what I mean? And the one is 16 miles long, and it's deep into the race.
I think they're both 16 miles long, if I'm not mistaken, because of the Mexican spotted owl.
Because of some owl that our friend's wife thought was because it was extra vicious.
Right.
But I mean, there was multiple things.
It's endangered, folks.
It's endangered. But there's multiple things that went into making this year's race. I feel like probably hard.
Yeah.
Not probably. It did go into making it harder than other year previous.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it as well. But that hangover trail in Sedona that you mentioned, that's slick rock. There's like no actual trail, and it's like there's some pretty hairy climbing. And during the day it might be one thing, but doing that at night with tired legs, it sounded like it was a bit dangerous, according to Chaz, who was pacing, and Pete.
Even other runners. I've talked to a couple other runners too. The following day, like we walked down Saturday, we walked down the Golden Hour and hung out and talked to some runners down there, and even bumped into some runners at the airport. And blah 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 blah. And I don't know that I talked to a single one that was like, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah,
I felt. I'll tell you what. Not a single one said I felt totally safe. Not a single one of them said that. So.
Well, and then the descent off of Mingus after those thunderstorms was like muddy as hell. But we'll talk about that. Let's finish out the elites. So after Courtney dropped, that put last year's winner Rachel Entrekin in the lead for the women, and Rachel's crew knew that Courtney dropped at 108, but they decided not to tell Rachel right away because they wanted her to keep thinking she was chasing Courtney. So like pretty crazy mind game, but it worked. It did work pretty well because Rachel was just crushing it. They finally told her, I believe, at the Dead Horse. Yeah, mile 134 Dead Horse Aid Station in Cottonwood. They let her know that Courtney had dropped out, and then she was able to just she ran a clinic, a master class on that race as well. She set the record that Annie Hughes had set also in 2022, like string meet. Annie Hughes was 71 hours and 10 minutes, and Rachel finished with the time of 63 and 63:50. So she just crushed the record on a harder course in some treacherous weather. It did warm up too, but I mean, they were finishing on Wednesday, so they didn't get the heat that from the end of the week. So.
No, I don't think they didn't get it. I will say this: me and Chaz we had a gentleman's agreement going, and he was like, Courtney's ain't break 60, and I was like, I just don't see Court breaking 60. I mean, shit, it was like you only had you had one guy before this year who broke 60, so I was like, I don't see Courtney do it. I don't see Courtney do it, and we had a little gentleman's agreement going. And man, there for a little while, I was like, "Oh shit, Courtney's not going to break 60. She's going to destroy 60."
Yeah.
And then when she tapped that, up at Mingus, when she tapped out up at Mingus, I was like, "Shoo, I'm going to dodge that bullet." But then, fucking Rachel was just like going after it, man. Like I was like, "Oh shit, Rachel might, mess around."
She's like holding my beer.
Yeah, I was like, damn, she's gonna make a good push for this. So it was a pretty cool year. Dan Green though, golly days, that kid, he might be fun to watch. I don't know. He could.
Yeah, he just came out of nowhere. I'd never even heard of him. He's a collegiate cross country runner at Marshall, I believe. And he is strong, and he shotgunned a Coors Light when he finished. There has been a lot of memes about that, finishing so I can drink the world's shitty or finishing first place in a 250 miler so I can drink
Yeah,
the world's shittiest beer.
Yeah.
I can think of a few that are shittier, but and Rachel, like her finish, like she just seems like such a cool person. Like she was so psyched, was so happy. I mean, it was so cool to see. And then to round out for the guys, Ryan Sands got second, and Ryan Sands, like out of nowhere, comes back. You know, he was elite back in, you know, in the, I don't know, like 8-9 years ago. He was just kicking ass at everything, and then you didn't hear from him for a while, and now this year he's just he's back. You know, he finished with 60 in 61:21, which is, that's a killer time, man.
It's crazy.
And Eder Ramirez also is kind of one that you know we didn't really know about, and he got third for the men in 63:10. Harry S. fourth, 65:28, and Finn Mellison, a podcast host, actually 66:29. And then for the women, second place was Lindsay Dwyer from the Bay Area, 79:35, which that means that Rachel finished almost 16 hours ahead of the next female. Sarah Ostraszewski, 80:25 for third to round out the podium. Shelby Farrell, 85:26 for fourth, and Melissa Brown, 85:45 for fifth. So pretty awesome race. It was fun to follow on the live stream when we had little breaks from crewing and pacing. It was fun just to have it on in the background while we're kind of game planning for what's next. But so we kind of talked a lot about the weather, the race, you know, but like I think maybe we should just touch a little bit on crewing and pacing Cocodona before we move on. And you know, just from my experience, our experience, there was like hardly any dead time, you know, in 5 days, and there was 4 of us, right? So, and usually like one of us was pacing, one of us was getting a rest because we were going to pace next, and then 2 of us were at the aid station. Sometimes 3 of us were at the aid station. Sometimes all 4 of us were at the aid station. But we were always having to think ahead. You know, what's he going to need, and you know how long to let him sleep, and we kind of had to adjust a lot because of the weather. Kind of screwed things up, and but I will say it was a crazy 5 days, but very rewarding seeing Pete finish. We worked. I thought we worked great together as a team. So
it was neat watching him finish. It was neat watching him finish. The fun thing about that kind of thing, and a really rewarding thing about crewing and pacing, is, you know, it made me happier watching him finally like knock this off. It made me happier watching him do that than like some of the joy I felt from finishing in some of my own races. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you look back at some of the races you've done, like you're like, oh, I was really happy with myself. I was happier for Pete than I was happy for myself watching him finish, because of just the huge feat that it is to knock out that race. And then the other part that I look back on, I'm like, man, that was pretty badass, was watching him. It would have been extraordinarily easy for anyone to be on top of Mingus and be like, fuck no, I am not going back out in that.
Yep. He basically came into Mingus hypothermic. Or borderline hypothermic. He was shivering like crazy.
Yeah, he hit Mingus at probably the worst time possible. You know, he if I remember correctly, Ronnie had said that when they got to the bottom, like right when they started, like, because you come out of that pasture, then you start that climb. And he
Mhm.
said, literally coming across the pasture, nothing. They put basically their first foot on Mingus, and it started raining on them. And then it proceeded to rain just harder and harder and harder the higher up the mountain they went. And it got down into the low 40s that night. And I
Yeah.
mean, when Pete came in, man, he was just tapped out on calories. He was cold.
Yeah.
And like like I said, it would have been so easy just to be like, nope. But what I love about Pete is he understands, and he was willing to trust us. And the
Yeah.
fact of, hey, listen, man, this is the 100-miler. We don't have to hurry out of here. We can sit here for quite a while, really.
Yeah.
Let you recover, let you get better. So that watching him bounce out of that one was really cool.
Yeah.
The other one that was really, really cool to watch him like manifest was the the one that we almost that he wrapped up by himself, and then we met him. Me, you, and Chaz met him out at what was that one? That where he was
Oh
super
yeah,
where
it was the second 16-mile loop that
the
he had to
second 60,
do
when
on
we
his
met him out
own,
there,
which
that
he
dude
was
was
in bad
dazed.
shape.
Yeah, he was dazed and confused, and was mumbling about walking in circles, which he wasn't even walking in circles. Like he perceived he was.
Yeah, and he said he didn't eat any calories on that loop,
Yeah, yeah.
and
And
yeah,
so he had a couple opportunities. Now that one, right? Like the only reason that one would have been like it was freezing at that aid station too.
so
I mean,
cold. Yeah,
they were trying to do a good job of keep a fire going, but it was so cold and you were so far out in the middle of nowhere that little fire they had going wasn't doing shit to keep you warm, really.
yeah, yeah. It
But
was like a propane hookup, and it was just a
yeah,
low
yeah.
flame. It wasn't like a bonfire.
But yeah, he did a really good job. It was so much fun. Just playing that like almost like playing like a leapfrog game with him. And the four of us kind of like orchestrating like, all right, you do this, I'll do that, and just rotating through responsibilities. It was a ton of fun. It
Yeah,
was a lot of
and
fun.
like very little sleep. So,
Yeah.
and we were having to check in and out of hotels, and
Oh.
and there was the logistics of this was crazy. And I drove a separate car to Arizona from California, and I'm glad I did. It kind of worked out well because I was able to
Yes.
bring all that extra stuff, and we were able to keep all of our luggage, our non-crewing stuff in one vehicle, and all of our crew stuff in the other vehicle. So that really helped, I think. But it was nonstop. But I do want to go back to Mingus really quick. The cool thing that happened was Pete knew he had to eat, and he had an iron stomach for
Oh man.
in this
Yeah.
race. He was well prepared for this race, so he knew that dropping out was not an option no matter
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
And he did so good at keeping calories down. He was at Mingus, he was like shivering so bad and sitting by the fire. We were bringing him, bowls of food, lasagna. He was just crushing it. And
Yeah.
the calories and sitting by the fire, eventually he stopped shivering enough to where we could get him in his clothes for the next section, get him onto the air mattress in the car where he slept for like an hour and a half. And it was incredible. When he got up from his nap, he literally jumped out of the truck,
Yeah.
and he was ready to go. Like, it's amazing what sleep does for you. I'd let him sleep for 20 minutes at that one aid station. He got up and he was like, I am a new man. So
Yep.
when you're in a super low spot, the best thing to do is to eat some food, take a little nap, and you will be a new person. It happened to me at Fat Dog. I thought I was done. Same thing. So, but Pete, to his credit, man, he knew quitting was not an option,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he did such a great job of keeping calories down. And really, I only seen him in that one low point, like when you mentioned when he came off of that loop by himself. That was the only low point. he was mentally with it the whole race. Like,
oh yeah,
we could communicate with him and with no problem at all. I mean, it was truly incredible. So
yeah,
Pete, if you listen to this, man, like we are so impressed. Like,
yeah.
congrats. I mean, it was awesome to witness. And Pete finished in 104 hours. He had like almost a whole day to spare. So pretty awesome. But yeah, coming down off Mingus, it was super muddy. But then by Wednesday, I started pacing Wednesday morning. Trail was dry, started becoming sunny. You know, it was nice weather from then on out. So
yeah. It ended up getting warm enough. I actually got warm enough and sunny enough. I actually got myself a nice little tan out there. So yeah. It was kind of neat watching it all come together. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. It sure was. All right. Well, that was fun recapping our experience at Cocodona. It was a heck of a week. It was a lot of fun seeing all the other crews and runners, and we're Friday evening, Johnny and Ronnie and myself went down to the finish line and we were cheering people on. It was a good time. All right, let's move on. There was another race that I just want to talk about really quickly at Cocodona. There was actually 4 races, but I just want to talk about the Sedona Cayons 125, which is basically half the course. They do like veer off from the 250 course a couple of times, but it's from Jerome to Flagstaff. And I do want to give a shout out to Cole, our friend of the pod, former guest, 2-time guest. Cole was in first place on the section I was pacing Pete in the 250. Cole, it was early in the 125, maybe like 20 miles in or something. He come flying by us in first place. And I saw him when he came around the corner because it was kind of like some exposed switchbacks, and I could see him. And I was like, Cole Crosby, gave him a high five. He recognized me. And he was just flying, man. And he was like 37 minutes ahead of the second place person. I was like, holy crap, he is flying. And Cole, congrats. He ended up going on to get third place at the Sedona Cayons 125. So he was on the podium there. Nick Allen ended up winning the Sedona Cayons. Kevin Dye was second, and Cole ended up third. And for the women, Andrea White was first, and Brianna Boley was second, and Christine Allman was third. Let's see. Andrea's time was 30 hours and 57 minutes, and Nick Allen's time was 26 hours and 24 minutes. So pretty good for 125 miles. Miwok was this weekend. Miwok is in Stinson Beach, which is just north of of San Francisco, and takes place on some of the trails that I lived in San Francisco for 6 years, and I was on all those trails a lot. Love that course. I love those trails. Johnny's been on them a couple times. It's just awesome running out there. Miwok is a very classic race. Miwok's been going on
forever.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah.
I don't even. It's one of the old school ultras. I can't remember exactly how many years off the top of my head. I didn't have much time to prepare. This is an early release, and we just got back from Coco. But anyway, Miwok 100K classic race. Colton Ransom won 8 hours and 47 minutes, so he just absolutely crushed it. Mario Mendoza was second in 9 hours and 22 minutes, and Jacques Sarbach was third in 9 hours and 25 minutes. And let's see here. For the women, Christina Randrup barely beat Amy Cameron, 10 hours and 9 minutes to Amy's 10 hours and 12 minutes. So they were first and second for the women. And third for the women was Laura Westmeyer, 11 hours and 5 minutes. So congrats to everybody out at Miwok. Go ahead.
Did you say you have ran that one or you have not?
I never ran Miwok when I lived there. Miwok is, the cutoffs are tight.
Dude, all right, so Miwok, it's 100K. So it's not, I mean, it's the same elevation essentially for Miwok as it is for Muck. They're both 11,000 feet ish. Miwok, it says it's 11.8, right? Dude, the cutoff for Miwok, do you know what it is off the top of your head?
15 and a half.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
I was looking for races to run before I moved to San Francisco in 2018. And I looked at Miwok and I'm like, wait, how much climbing? Wait, 15 and a half hours? Are you kidding me? Like, I know it's a fast course, but that's tight. That's tight.
That's fast.
Yeah, it's a Western States qualifier.
And it should be with that kind of elevation, that kind of cutoff. It should be a Western States. That's 100K that I can get down with. That elevation and that cutoff is 100K I can get down with being a Western States qualifier.
Yeah,
that is like golly days.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee and it's not a cupcake. It's kind of like, it reminds me of Sean O'Brien. Sean O'Brien is a monster, and it's and that's a 16-hour cutoff. And yeah, that was one of the only races that I didn't make. I didn't make the cutoff at mile 44, and Sean O'Brien, they let me finish as a 50-mile finisher. But I mean, those two races, it's tight. It's 100K, so you really got to be on it if you're mid to back of the packer.
That's a tough one, man.
But it's a classic, awesome race. So I always wanted to do it, but I just never pulled the trigger on it. So Quad Rock, let's see, Quad Rock 50 miler was this weekend. David Roche was out there and he just crushed it. 14-minute course record. He's, getting ready for Western States. So that was pretty cool to see that Instagram post about Quad Rock. Okay. And Tiger Claw.
Here's another one I want to do. I want to do this one real bad, actually.
Yeah, we talked about Tiger Claw last year. We got it's a 50K. That's about 32 miles, actually. A little bit longer than a 50K. 8,500 feet of gain. It's basically a 2.5, or it's 2.5 miles, 2,500 feet of gain. And I thought the 50K was 3 times up and down for some reason, though.
I think it is. You have the 3 different routes you take up, but you have the same route you bring down, I think.
Yeah, that's what it was. So anyways, it's a lot of climbing, but it seems like a fun race. You do 3 different routes up, and then you do the same route down. Hillary Allen was first for the women, 4 hours and 38 minutes. And this is in Isaac, Washington, by the way, up by Seattle, I believe. Yep. And Anthony Fagundes won the race in 3 hours and 46 minutes. Like, How do you do
Dude,
that much climbing?
That is great. And I've seen something where it's like, I mean, the climbing's the climbing, right? Like in a weird kind of way, I don't care how technical a trail is on a climb because you're not. I mean, unless you're maybe this guy, you're not running it. You know what I mean? So like the climb can be pretty technical in a weird kind of way. A technical climb actually makes it a little bit easier because you can use the steps and the rocks and the roots as steps.
Mm-hmm.
But like I've heard the descent is even technical, so I don't know how the fuck that is blazing on that course.
Yeah, it really is. It's very impressive. I can't comprehend it really. All right, moving on to the Tillamook Burn out in Oregon, which takes place in the Tillamook. I believe it's is that a state forest? I can't remember.
It's great cheese. That's what it is.
It's pretty good cheese. I think we have some of their butter as well.
I mean, we just ate a shit ton of their little cheese thingamabobbies.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The pepper jack or whatever.
Yeah. We just ate a shit ton of their cheese. Like,
that was some good crew food. There was some like pretty big name runners out at Tillamook Burn.
A huge name. One huge name in my opinion.
But yeah, Jade Bellsberg, she won the 50 for the women and second overall, actually in 7 hours and 41 minutes.
Yeah.
And String Bean, Joe McConaughey, also getting ready for Western States, won it in sub 7 hour. He did 6:56 for Tillamook Burn. So it's shaping up to be a pretty cool Western States.
Yeah, we did have it's kind of funny. I'm just kind of like scrolling through. We did have our infamous unknown run the race again, and she is from Mill Valley, California, and she ran a really solid time of 8:49. Took 4th overall for females.
Wow.
I don't know who she is.
Yeah. Pretty impressive, nonetheless. Unknown to. Interesting. I do want to do a quick shout out. There was a lot of good races that happened. Quicksilver, Stephen Cool. Quicksilver's in the South Bay. It's a staple, 41-year history event. It's been going on a long time. And they had the first runner in the event's 41-year history to go under 9 hours in the 100K. Stephen Cool ran an 8:44 to smash the course record by over 20 minutes. There's a lot of climbing in Quicksilver, and it's known to be very hot. So just want to give a quick shout to that. Also, Ice Age Trail 50 was in Wisconsin. This is another classic race that's been going on for years. And it's one of the old school ultras, actually. And Camille Herron won the 50 miler in 7:44 and was 6th overall. And Jesse DeAngelis was 2nd, and Anna Curtis was 3rd for the women. And Michael Quenznell led for the men in 6 hours and 5 minutes. Vince Pikowski was 2nd, 6:29, and Sydney Noble 6:46. And also Hellbender was under 100 in Old Fort, North Carolina. This was the 6th year for Hellbender. I believe Hellbender is now a Hard Rock qualifier, if I'm not mistaken.
I feel like you might be right about that.
Yeah. And this year's course had a new look after storm damage from Hurricane Helene. Many of the original trails were closed, and it offered a true Beast Coast mountain running experience because the trails were rugged and technical. Over 20,000 feet of gain, 137 runners finished ahead of the 39-hour cutoff. Norwegian won the race. Sondre Stier Thorbergsen in a remarkable time of 18:50, an event record. Shannon Howell won for the women, 10th overall in 22:33. So cool stuff. A lot goes on, especially when you take a week off of of the podcast.
Shit, no doubt, yeah.
That'll teach us.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. So some big time FKTs just happened, right? Grand Canyon, the famous rim to rim to rim, and not the alt trail. I'm talking the normal route, South Kaibab on the south rim, down across the canyon, up North Kaibab to the north rim, back down North Kaibab, back across the canyon, and back up South Kaibab to the trailhead. And it's like 44 miles, about 10,500 feet to climb. And everybody knows this route is rim to rim to rim. And we just had a female unsupported FKT set on April 29th by Allison Baca. 7 hours and 31 minutes. That, yeah, she did it in like half the time that it took me and my friend Sean. But very impressive nonetheless. Congrats to Allison. I'm going to actually pull up her day. Said that she started it at 3:02, and I'm guessing that's 3:02 in the morning, and didn't feel great on the downhill. Kept plugging along, had a high heart rate, and she started with 3 bottles. Now she did this unsupported, right? So there are water stops. There are water points along the way that the public can use, so she can use those water points as well. So that's why she was able to do it unsupported. But I think it's been like pretty hot down there too. And
yeah,
I don't know what it was like on this day, but it's pretty impressive nonetheless. 7 hours and 31 minutes, female unsupported.
I mean, her 7:31 was almost as fast as the first and second place supported runners.
Yeah.
And it was faster than the third. Like her unsupported, and that is a wildly impressive run for unsupported.
Yeah.
You
know,
and
I'm not familiar with Allison Baca.
Yeah.
Or Baca. So yeah, you're right. I mean, she was literally within 6 minutes of the first place female supported.
Dude, click on her name. Holy
yeah, she's
shit.
Like, looks like she's an FKT monster.
Dude, she just goes around looking for FKT.
Oh my god!
Like she owns
Holy
so many
smokes!
Yeah.
That is crazy. That's crazy. She doesn't do races. She does FKTs.
Yeah. She's just like, it'd be fun just to go around and snipe people's shit.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I love it. That's super cool. Also, another pretty famous FKT was set, the Arizona Trail. We watched Georgia. Was it Georgia Porter that did it last year?
Yep.
Supported
16 days, 22 hours. Yeah, supported 16 days, 22 hours.
Yeah, so Sadie Curry did it self-supported, which means she didn't receive aid from anybody else. She was, self-supported means you're able to stop at gas stations and things like that. But she did it in 17 days, 12 hours and 27 minutes. She took 7.5 hours off of the previous FKT by Katie Brown. That is the Arizona Trail, which is 817 miles with 113,537 feet of gain. I guess depending on which way you go, because it's a point to point. But yeah, so we were just out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we went on the Arizona Trail
I don't think so
at
either.
all, but I've been on the Arizona Trail before. It's pretty nice. So yeah, congrats to Sadie. Nice work. Okay, on to some news. 6-day records. This is insane. So Megan Eckart, American, she went out and broke Camille Herron's record for the 6-day. Camille Herron's record set last year in that Lululemon event
Mm-hmm.
was 560.333 miles. And Megan Eckart, she beat that by 42.8 miles. And she also got close to the men's American 6-day record, which Joe Fegis holds. But she ran 606.243 miles in 6 days. So Megan Eckart, congrats. That's incredible. And also Ivan Zaborsky, I believe from Russia, set the men's 6-day world record. He ran 650.919 miles. And this was all at the 6 days of France race in Vallon-Pont d'Arc, France. I probably butchered that. Joff will let me know if I did. But yeah, so Zaborsky broke Matthew Bond's 2024 record of 649.655 miles. So literally just like 1.3 mile difference. To put that into perspective, Megan's average pace was 4.12 miles an hour for 6 days. That includes stops, sleep, eating, and logistics. So, you gotta factor a lot of sleep in the 6 days. Not a lot, but enough to cut into your pace. So
yeah,
and then
I mean, 90-minute hits.
Yeah.
90 minutes. That's what it is. That's the magic.
Yeah. Or like little 15, 20-minute naps too.
Yeah.
And Zaborsky was 4.52 miles an hour for 6 days. So just pretty awesome stuff. Also, there was a backyard ultra record set. I feel like this is a huge deal. And this took place at the Legends Backyard Ultra in Belgium. And looks like Lucas Robel went 116 laps. That's 777.896 kilometers and 100 and well, that time doesn't matter, but it was 116 hours. Shoot. Let's see. I got to pull up the calculator here, but 116 times 4.167 is 483.372 miles. Without sleeping, by the way, 116 hours is 4.83, so almost 5 days without sleeping, pretty much.
That's hard to. How do you even maintain going a straight line at that point?
I know. I mean, maybe he caught some 5-minute naps when he finished, but good Lord, that's insane. So yeah, I guess, that kind of sets the standard for backyard ultras. We'll be looking at the World Championships in October. Should be fun to follow. See if anybody can beat the record. Okay, last bit of news, just kind of like some crazy fun news. There's a guy who was up on Mount Fuji, and he had to call search and rescue. And they had to airlift him out. Well, he left his phone up there on Mount Fuji. So after he's airlifted out and rescued, he decided to go back to get his phone. And guess what? He had to be airlifted out again.
That is absolutely the dumbest shit ever. That is dumbest shit ever. How do you... So the first time it sounded like he was suspected of having altitude sickness.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not known whether he was able to find his phone in the end. Just, I don't know, just funny.
So this is interesting also. I was kind of scrolling through the article a little bit. It doesn't sound like the trails were even officially open.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
So it is funny because, like, that's interesting. There's no penalty. It's like, here's like, they might want to rethink this. There's no penalty or a charge when climbers need to be rescued.
Some countries do that. It's built into the taxes, but not in America. That'll cost you.
I don't know, but there's enough uproar. Maybe he'll get dinged for a sec. I don't know. But that is.
You're right though. They might start looking at their policy.
Yeah, like, all right, you know what?
First one's on the house.
Yeah, first one we'll give you a freebie, but we got to come up here and get your dumb ass the second time. We're hitting that credit card.
No kidding. All right, well, let's jump into our 3 T's. Gotta get Johnny to bed. He's tired.
Man, it's gonna be this is kind of a funny one, dealing with the rain, because I mean, being Midwestern guys, we've both ran through plenty of rain. My first Mohican attempt, it rained. It rained so much my first Mohican attempt. I remember it was raining the day before. And I remember someone making a dumbass comment to the effect of, well, Mohican is so steep that it doesn't really sit on the trails. So the trails won't be muddy.
They drain and dry out quick. And
I remember someone saying that. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, the bad thing is when it doesn't stop raining, it never gives it a chance to drain out. And I remember like multiple trails at Mo being just like little rivers running back down the mountain or the hills. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anywho, dealing with rain, it's funny because I admitted that I'm not great with dealing with heat. And maybe I'm a little bit of a princess when it comes to this. I loathe rain, loathe it to the point where I basically just pout. And my answer to running in the rain, and this might not be the right answer whatsoever, but it's my answer. My answer running in the rain is I don't do shit special. I run in my shorts and I run in my t-shirt. I don't put wet weather gear on. And like you and I talked about it out at Cocodona. I have really negative memories of wet weather gear where, a person put some on and within an hour and a half had overheated so bad that they passed out and tumbled back down a mountain because like that wet weather gear just traps everything in there. And I can't stand the way it clings to your skin. So for me personally, like I'm going to be wet, right? I'm going to be wet. So for me, I run in t-shirt, I run in whatever, I get wet, and if it stops raining, I'll put some dry stuff on. But that's me. I just kind of like accept that it's going to be shitty and run in it. And then I will take my blisters and my chafing and just deal with them later on. But again, probably not the best course of action, but it's my course of action. So
I will say that I can understand what you're saying about rain gear trapping heat and causing additional issues, but I believe there are times when it does make sense and when it's colder and raining.
cold, yeah.
Because you can get just like Pete, you can get hypothermic, man. You can get cold
Fast.
to the core, like to the core, where just standing by a heater is not gonna warm you up. You know?
Yeah. You gotta learn to get like warm liquids. You gotta get soup and stuff inside of you to warm you up inside.
It's in your core.
Yeah.
And when I lived in San Francisco, we had a lot of atmospheric rivers in the winter where it was raining sideways, and temperatures like maybe in the 50s. So I bought that Montane, like a light. It's completely 100% waterproof. Chaz used it at pacing at Cocodona. It's light, and I mean, yeah, I was sweating a little bit in that, but the alternative of that sideways rain and the cold sideways rain, was not a good idea. And one time I was up on Mount Tam in one of these things, and it was raining, and I also got these. They're called RAB. They're so light. They're waterproof pants. They're like Kleenex almost. I don't even know. It's called like Perf Shield or something. I don't even know how they can be waterproof because they're so light, but they literally ball up to like the size of my fist.
Yeah.
And I had my legs, like, usually my legs never get cold. I always run in shorts with in the rain, but this time, for whatever reason, it was bothering me, and I'm glad I had those pants because I threw them on and like instantly comfortable. So yeah, like the Rab lightweight waterproof pants, the Montane lightweight raincoat. I do have a thicker raincoat that I've never really worn for running. Pete wore it coming down from Mingus. I think he did get hot a couple times. But that raincoat, it's a little thicker. It's a cool, like the KUHL.
Yeah.
That one is probably too hot no matter what, no matter how cold it is.
I think for me, right, if I put on wet weather gear, I have to be moving. One, it has to be cold. Like and when I say cold, I mean it's probably got to be 40 or less, probably closer to 35 or less. And so it's got to be cold rain. But additionally, I got to be moving really slow, like really slow by my standard, really slow. Like I've got to be down to a walk.
Yeah.
Like I gotta be down to a walk. I cannot even shuffle with that stuff on. Otherwise, it is just I am instantly producing more water inside the wet weather gear than I am on the outside of it. If you know what I mean. Like I am sweating my ass off. So, but it 100%, man. It's such a tricky thing. But dude, it is. The other thing, I think this might be a generic cop out for me to say this, but I do think it's true, is that it's every person's going to be a little unique. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I mean, shit, Cocodona, right? We'll go back to it. It's really kind of funny because like there's Pete out there who that poor motherfucker. He's the bringer of the rain. Like he has not ran a race that it has not rained at. Like I legitimately cannot think of a race he's gone to that it has not rained. Every race it has rained, and so he's the bringer of the rain. And then so much of his training cycle it's rained. Well, so the reason I bring all this up is, so he's gotten used to it. He's a Midwestern guy. He's trained in the winter, so it's kind of funny because then when we got to Coco, And for us, it's like, okay, I mean, it's cold, right? It's like it's in its 40s and it's drizzling. So I'm not going to say make it sound like it wasn't cold for Pete, but it like those Southwestern people were fucking dying.
Yeah.
Like they were dying. It's kind of funny because Versteeg is talking about the humidity.
Yeah.
Bro, it's like 50% humidity. What are we talking about? Like that's not even enough to we don't even measure that in Ohio.
Yeah, they're not used to any clouds and humidity like that.
Yeah,
not so that time of year anyway.
Yeah, so that's the other thing that's kind of funny is you've got to know your body and you've got to know your limits. You got to know like your thresholds and all that kind of stuff. You have to know what you're used to. Like I just know that I run extremely hot, hot. So, when even Chaz was like, I don't know, should I take this? Should I take that? I'm like, bro, I would run in a merino wool shirt and be done with it. And he's like, I'll fucking die out there if I go out there in that. So that's the other part of it. It really does boil down to just know you. Just know what you can handle.
Yeah.
And also know what you're willing to tolerate. Like again, I am weirdly okay with my feet getting tore up. Like for some sick, messed up reason, I'm okay getting a lot of really gnarly blisters and just dealing with that pain on its own. I far prefer that over being wet and sweaty for some reason and with the rain suits on. So I don't know. There's also that weird side of it. You just have to know you.
I'm glad you said something about the feet. There are these waterproof trail running shoes. I think Ultra makes them. I'm sure other companies do. I would caution against waterproof shoes, no matter what the temperature.
The Gore-Tex?
Yeah, like if you get any water inside those shoes, it's not coming out.
It's not coming out.
You need to have good drainage in your shoes. If you're properly wearing, you're wearing good socks and taking care of your feet, you are more liable or likely to get trench foot and blisters when they're wet, but that's why you got to take care of your feet. That was one thing. People were coming into Mingus with trench foot at Coco, but yeah, I mean, I wear the Injinji toe socks. It prevents friction. They're form fitting. They seem to work well. Even in the rain, they dry out well. Like the Ultra Lone Peaks dry out well. But one last thing, you mentioned that you ran Mohican in the rain. I think Ronnie and I did the 50 miler.
50. I think that was the same year. Yeah.
Together we ran the 50 miler, and it was literally like 9 hours straight of just a downpour. And you're right. There was literally, the trails weren't trails. They were like rivers.
It was just absolutely insane.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And then about like a mile from the finish, I tripped on a root on that, the part of the bike path that goes along. Is that Route 3?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's just that bike path that kind of goes along, not the paved bike path, but the trail up that sits up on the hill. Anyways, I bit it. I had a white shirt on. The whole shoulder was filled with mud.
Mud and shit. Yeah.
And I crossed that finish line. There's video of it. But yeah, that was insane rain. That was probably, that was like maybe tied for the worst rain that I had.
I want to say it rained, dude. It rained. I feel like in my head, I remember hearing a number of it rained for 18 straight hours to some varying degree. It might have got down to a little bit of a drizzle. It got all the way down to either a drizzle to a full-on, like, sideways, Noah's Ark is coming by kind of rain.
Yeah, didn't it rain all the night before the race or something?
Rained all night before the race.
Yeah.
And so then I feel like it rained, if I can remember correctly, it rained all night before, and then it started and it wasn't raining yet, and then it was only a few hours into the race it just opened back up.
Yeah.
And then it basically rained quite literally the entire rest of the race.
Yeah.
Quite literally. Like it was just absolutely
And
fucking ridiculous.
And that was before I had rain gear, but I don't think I would have put rain gear on anyways because it was still it was summer.
Dude, it
wasn't cold enough.
No, it was so fucking hot. It was
Yeah.
so hot. Not at one single point during that race. Not one point. Not in the afternoon. Not at 2 or 3 in the morning. Not at one single point in that race was I like, ooh, I'm cold. No, it was like running in lukewarm water the entire effing time. Just relentless wetness.
It was insane. Yeah, good memories.
Yeah.
And just to sum it up, I think Johnny, I think you're spot on, man. You have to know yourself, and you have to know what your limits are and what works best for you. Just like everything, it's experimentation. You know,
trial by error.
I totally recommend going for training runs in the rain. You know, because you can't ever predict the weather on race day.
Yeah, if you have a little training jog scheduled and it's raining, the temptation is there for sure to be like,
for sure.
I'll get it in later today, or like, oh, you know what? I'll wait until it calms down. Now, at some point in your career, you'll be able to do that, right? Like if you've done enough stupid shit in the rain, you'll know, right? You'll know. But if you haven't done dumb stuff in the rain, and if you haven't been exposed to that kind of stuff, you might as well go ahead and use it as a training mission. You might as well just use it. I mean, it's funny because like my dumbass, I will still occasionally. Well, I just like a couple weeks ago. It was a Thursday. I went to my cardiologist. I went to my cardiologist. I went to a dive hamburger joint, a dive bar that I suppose has the best burgers in Columbus. I went to cardiologist. I went to that dive burger. I had my first cheeseburger in probably 3 to 4 months. I had a cheeseburger, had a beer, came home and got a run in just to see what the gut could handle, just to see if it could still handle running with a cinder block in the stomach. Sometimes you got to do that. And so if it's raining and you've never really experienced running in the rain, you should 100% do it. Just to know.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that about wraps us up for this week. But cool. I hope thanks everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed our recap of what went down at Cocodona. It was a lot of fun. But
it was a ton of fun.
And seeing Pete cross that finish line made it all worth it, man.
Makes you want to sign up for next year's, doesn't it?
Nope. Nope. No thanks. No. I'm good. I mean, that's a race that I might consider doing when I'm retired and I could just hike the whole thing. You know?
I mean, it's funny because I know we're trying to get off the episode, but it is also kind of funny because the multiple ways you can approach 200 milers is really interesting.
Yeah.
You can do what Pete did, which is this very very consistent, very I'm going to run the same pace every single day. I'm going to put about the same miles in every single day. I'm going to get the same amount of sleep every single, every so often. It was just very bump, 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 bump. There's that way to do it. There's the way to do it that Pete and I witnessed a guy who, I shit you not, that dude was doing wind sprints from aid station to aid station. And then he'd get to the aid station. He would sit there for 4, 5, 6 hours.
Jesus.
And then Pete would catch him at the aid station. Pete would hang out for a little bit at the aid station and leave. And sure as shit, here comes this dude hours later, full on assholes and elbows screaming by him. And somehow that worked for that guy. It was crazy. He was running from point to point. So there's that way to do it. And then there's the way you're talking about where you can just you know what? You get 5 days. You get Monday, you get all day Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then a chunk of Saturday. So you get not quite 5.5 days. You get 5 1/4 days to do it. And you can really slow down and take your time and bump out 50-mile days, 100K days, and then full on ass sleep at the aid stations.
Oh yeah.
Before you start the next day. So, anyways, it'd be a good that'd be a good topic to talk about too. Sometimes all the different ways you can approach 200 milers.
Yeah, that's a good one too. All right, cool. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you on the next one.
Cool. Thanks everybody.